Hello guys, Patrick Nichols here, and I'm here with another excellent example of a 1970 Chevelle SS396 barn find. This car was purchased new in my hometown of Clarksville, Tennessee, and remained in the area its entire life. I've been aware of this car for quite a while and decided it would be a great feature example of another 70 Chevelle barn find. As you know, the 70 Chevelle Super Sport is one of the most sought after cars, most popular cars in existence currently. And I receive a lot of questions and inquiries about certain issues on these cars, and I'd like to answer some of those questions today with this walk around video. This car was assembled at the Atlanta, Georgia assembly plant the third week of March 1970. And you can see Atlanta cars were known for their metal inner fenders. The original engine to this car got away from the car, but the original transmission and rear end still exist. Another characteristic of an Atlanta-built 70 Chevelle is the location of the mounting point for the hood pin cables. An Arlington or Kansas City, Missouri car were further down, and a Baltimore, Maryland car were known to be under the bolt. Just a quick example of some of the differences from one assembly plant to another. As you can see, the original master cylinder has been changed, but the original fan shroud still exists for this car. Cowl induction hood seems to be in really nice shape, and definitely an assembly line version. Now let's talk a little bit about the cowl tag. Now, the 70 is for 1970, 13637 for two-door sport coupe. A for Atlanta, Georgia, 35507 is the body number, which is located in box 8 of the build sheet. 756 for black bucket seat interior. And Atlanta, Georgia, put the RPO codes B80 and B90 on the cowl tag, which is for drip rail and front window glass frame molding. They were the only two RPO codes that they placed on the two-door cars. 2828 for Fathom Blue upper and Fathom Blue lower. 03C for March third week. And the rest of these numbers are what is known as data processing numbers, which is really not important to us, but it was for plant figures. So 289, 822 would be in box 24 of the build sheet. 120445 is a combination of box 10 and box 24. The 12 would be in box 10 of the build sheet, and the 0445 would be in box 24. Again, they are known as data processing numbers. Not really all that important to us. Also, this car retains all 5 of the original wheels, which is pretty rare. And you can see 2 on this side of the valve stem and a 17, which is February 17th, which definitely falls in line with a March 3rd week build date of this car. Also an interesting feature is the car still retains the original lug nuts, which were stainless steel caps that were imitation that went over the top of an actual lug nut. They didn't last very long with improper use, but this car retains most of the original lug nuts. Those lug nuts today in new condition bring about $100 a piece. As you can see, the SS396 and it's still finished in Fathom Blue paint exterior, and it still has the manufactured by GM sticker in the door jamb. This car came with idiot lights originally, and still retains, where there's a gas gauge where the tachometer would be, and of course no clock. And somewhere along the line in this car's life, the bucket seats were swapped out for what appears to be 67 models, and the back seat was swapped out as well. Those things happen to these cars over the course of their life. Very common for things like that to happen. And you can see February 17th on this wheel as well. And it also retains the deep center caps. The replacements, the SS, is not nearly as deep, inset, recessed. Again, this car is still in the original owner's name and at the original residence where it was brought home in 1970. You can see February 2, 17 AO. Definitely a nice car for a candidate for a restoration. Super sport cars, especially documented ones, are not on every corner. Let's see. The car has the usual rust, which is definitely repairable. And this one is dated February the 12th. So 4 February 17th and 1 February 12th, which is definitely common. There was no rhyme or reason to when they grabbed the 5 at the assembly plant, when they grabbed 5 wheels to go on this car. Now I'll lay down and give you a little stamp of the rear end. Okay, CCW would be for 331 ratio, non-posi, so no posi traction, be an open rear end. 0303 is for March 3rd. B is for Buffalo, New York, which is the assembly plant for the rear axle, and 2 for second shift. Now, Buffalo, New York was the assembly plant, and they shipped out the rear axles to the various assembly plants. So the rear axle will always be about 2 to 3 weeks behind the build date of the car for shipping. You can see the floor pans, which are definitely repairable. I don't see rust to a certain level to where it would require cutting the floor pan. And the original transmission is in this car as well. Original stripes on the Cowl Induction hood, which we've talked about before. Cowl Induction came standard with hood and deck stripes, which is code D88 on the build sheet. here is the build sheet. And you can see the Strato bucket seats, 851, D55 console, 331 ratio, no posi traction, M40 turbo 400 transmission, Fathom Blue upper, Fathom Blue lower, and ZL2 special duct hood, which is Cowl Induction hood. And this is the box 24 I explained earlier, the 289-822, which is the data processing number, and then the 0445, which followed the 12, which you can barely see in box 10, and then March the 18th was the projected assembly date. Now this is what is known as the protecto plate, and you can see the rear end code that I just got off, that we just spoke about on the rear end, and you can see the CCW 0303B, and they did not put the second shift on there. And the top number is the VIN, the vehicle identification number. And then the T0306, this is read backwards, by the way, CTW would have been March 9, that's 09. March 9th would have been the engine stamp. And CTW for 396, 350 horse, turbo 400 automatic. And you can see it was purchased new at Wright Chevrolet in Clarksville, Tennessee, right about the time when it changed to James Corlew, because an interesting feature here, if you'll look, on the protecto plate warranty, it says Hawkins Corlew Incorporated, but on the build sheet, it says Wright Chevrolet. And this is her original agreement and installment plan. She traded in, the original owner traded in, I believe, a Ford for this car. So really nice car. And those of you that, I receive questions a lot of the times about, you know, how do I get lucky? How are you so lucky? And a lot of times my answer to that is, you've probably already been lucky. And that confuses some people. And I explain to them, until your knowledge level is high enough, I can't stress that enough, that you've probably already been lucky, but you didn't even know it, because unless you know what you are looking at and you know these cars backwards and forwards, the information is out there now. It's not like it used to be when we had to crawl in under cars and compare one car to the next at car shows and go home and compare data and read magazines and then work on cars. You can have an accelerated course these days with the internet. So I can't stress enough to learn these cars. You should be able to determine with a couple pictures, when you look in the engine bay of these cars, you should be able to find something that tells you which assembly plant that it come from. And assembly plant from casting numbers, casting dates, all of that stuff needs to be stored to memory. If you are researching a car on the spot, more than likely you're going to miss the boat. So you need to be very, very well versed with any of these. If it's a Chevelle, Camaro, a Mopar, Ford, whatever, my advice to you is do your homework. You cannot research a car on the spot. You have to know this stuff by memory. I can't stress that enough. That way, when your ship comes in, and I guarantee you, everybody's ship comes in eventually. Doesn't matter what it is, whether you're buying a house, a car, what you're in the market for, a relationship partner. If you can't designate or be able to identify rare qualities in anything, these cars, you probably will pass it up and not even know that you were lucky. So do your homework, get schooled on these cars, and if you're in the market for one, when you come across one of these cars, that you're going to know the codes, the dates, the assembly plant norms, know that stuff by heart, and I guarantee you, you will eventually get lucky too. So if anybody else has any further questions, you can reach me at pnichols26 at Yahoo, or follow me on Facebook at Patrick Glenn Nichols. And my next article for Hot Rod will be coming out soon, and that information is there as well. I hope all of you enjoy this video, and for sure, more videos to come of more barn finds. Again, I'm Patrick Nichols. Thanks.